All right, so Israel Adesanya makes his long-awaited return to the Octagon next week, Perth, Australia, UFC 305. And this is a big one for Israel Adesanya. And no, I'm not talking about the fact that this is the battle of the true Africans. There's a lot of hatred between these two. There's a lot of bad blood. There's a lot of nasty things said on both sides. So, of course, this fight is personal. It is a grudge match, and we've been wanting to see this one for quite some time. As I say, it goes down next week, and I cannot wait for it. But the big one here for Israel Adesanya is he still
that guy?
He did an interview where he said, I'm still that dude.
Prove to myself that I'm still that dude.
The question is he? Or, as Sean Strickland kind of alluded to, does he still have that in him? Okay?
No, Izzy, I'm sorry I made fun of your dog. I'm sure he's a great fella.
Because that's the real question. Because he had a meteorical rise throughout mixed martial arts. Ever since he came to the UFC, he rose like that. It was unbelievable. He was the interim champion. He was the undisputed champion. He defended the belt 5 times. He tried to become a 2-weight division champion. He was one of the biggest stars in the sport, probably still is, and was definitely one of the best middleweights that the sport has ever seen. But everybody has their time. What goes up must come down. We see it all the time. It's a tale as old as time. It's the fight game. It's as simple as that. It is a cruel mistress. Nobody can stay at the top forever. Look at Conor McGregor, 2016, a 2-weight champion. Lately, he's struggled. He hasn't fought lately, but you know what I'm saying. 3 out of his last 4 fights, he's lost. That's not a dig at Conor McGregor. That's just the facts of the fight game. So, Israel Adesanya coming back, this is what he had to say. He said, I missed it. I definitely missed it. I effing missed it. I missed this shit. That's all I really care about. Everything else is stupid. This is silly. The fight's already sold, but we have to go do this media shit. We have to do another press conference. I guess that's to hype this fight up even more. Then the face-off, then the weigh-ins, then the face-off. It's like, all of this is effing stupid to me. I just want to go in there and beat this CUNT up. See you next Friday. Not going to say that on YouTube. They'll throw me off these days. So that's the exciting thing for me. And I'm going to do that. But again, it's just patient. And I am a patient mother effer. You will notice I'm not swearing. I've had a couple of warnings from YouTube. But he says, I knew it was time to come back when I was healed from my injuries that I was nursing. One of those things were all cleared by the doctors and I could train again. I gradually got back to the game. And then he went on to say, at the moment, what's fueling me is pretty much just showing myself off. I'm an entertainer. I'm a performer. I'm a guy that goes in and gets the job done. When I don't do that, it irks me. That last outing for me, that wasn't really me. So I just want to go show off who I really am. Not really to anyone, just to prove to myself that I am still that dude. And I know that I am. Trust me, okay? And I get that. I really do. And I fully 100% understand the guy. But the question is he really? And that's not an insult to Israel Adesanya. The last stylebender has been one of the best performers, one of the best showmen, and one of the most regular, hard-working champions the sport has ever seen. Some amazing performances, right? Some incredible shows of display and technique and striking perfection inside the octagon. He really has. But everybody's time comes. Now, I know in his mind, he says he's still that guy. At the end of the day, it comes down to the old cliches. Do you still want it? Are you hungry enough? It's hard to get out of bed at 4 o'clock in the morning when you're sleeping in silk sheets, okay? We've all heard these cliches, but they're called cliches because they're true. Because as you're going up the ladder, when you're broke, when you're hungry, when you're feeling dismissed, when nobody gives you a chance, when people say you're not good enough, that makes you hungry. That makes you mad. That makes you pissed off. And that gets you out of bed at the crack of dawn. That makes you the first one to the gym and the last one to leave. That makes you do the extra rounds. That makes you work your goddamn ass off because you want to be that guy. You want to be that person. You want to have millions of dollars in your bank account and set yourself up financially for life. The reality is now, Israel Adesanya has done that. And last time out, I agree with him. Against Sean Strickland, he was not himself. Absolutely not. That is not taken away from Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland went out there, had a tremendous performance, almost stopped him in the first round. But you can't say, honestly, when you look at that fight, that was the best version of Israel Adesanya. That was a version of Israel Adesanya that probably was complacent, that didn't push himself to the limit, that didn't do all the work necessary, and certainly didn't show up on fight night to beat somebody like Sean Strickland, a man that lives in the gym, a man that certainly does have that dog in him, that will fight dick to dick,
nipple to nipple in that range, fucking fighting, bro.
Even though he fights behind a jab, and he is very, very strategic when he fights. He's not the marauding madman that he pretends to be. He shows up fight night and fights with a lot of maturity. He doesn't fight like a rabid dog, and that's not an insult. That's actually a compliment. And for Israel Adesanya, coming into this one, there is a lot of pressure because that's the talk of the fight world. Oh, he's had his best days. They're behind him now. The man's just collecting paydays. He's just there for another payday. He hasn't got what it takes to be one of the best anymore. That is an insult to Israel Adesanya. But the question still remains, is he pushing himself? Because when you've got millions of dollars in the bank, it's not the same. It just isn't the same. The man's done very, very well. Probably earning $3 to $4 million for about 6 or 7 fights, right? The man's a wealthy guy, okay? So is the motivation the same? Certainly not. It just isn't. Let me tell you right now, when you're broke and you want to be that person, right? But now you're driving around in Lamborghinis, you've got multiple staff that work for you, you've got multiple assistants, you've got the French tip fingernails, right? That's got nothing to do with it. The motivation just isn't the same. So you don't train quite as hard. And anybody that says they do, they're lying to themselves. And that's not an insult. They think they are, they think they're doing the work, but they're just not. And the only people that know that is the coaches and the people around them. But they probably won't say anything either because they're on the payroll. And I'm not talking about Izzy's team. I'm not talking about Connor's team. I'm talking about fight sports in general. At the end of the day, when you become a large commodity like that and you're generating so much money, it's not just you. There's a whole bunch of people that rely on the success of your fights or your campaigns in the octagon or the boxing ring. That's just the way combat sports goes. And then, of course, you've got to factor in Dricus Du Plessis, a man that is stylistically probably a tough matchup for Israel Adesanya. So in some ways, it's not even fair to say if he loses to Dricus Du Plessis, he's not that dude anymore, because stylistically, Dricus Du Plessis might just be a bad matchup. I think stylistically, he is a bad matchup. He's going to walk him down. He's going to get in his face. He's absolutely fearless. He's got knockout power in both hands. He's got great takedown ability. He's tremendously talented on the ground with submission threats everywhere, okay? And he's got a proper chin. I don't think we've ever seen Dricus Du Plessis wobbled or stumbled or even come close to being knocked down. When he went out there and dropped Robert Whittaker with a jab, the follow-up combination, the way that he ripped to the body, and just the confidence that he has when he fights, and you can call it awkward timing, call it an offbeat rhythm, call it whatever you want, but it is very, very effective. So first of all, this is a really hard fight for Dricus Du Plessis. There's a lot of emotion attached to this fight, and whether he wins or he loses, I don't think it's fair to even say that he's not that dude anymore. But speaking of the dude that he is, let's just refresh our memories. So here's just a few stats on Israel Adesanya. Of course, the man was a middleweight champion. He achieved that whilst being undefeated in mixed martial arts. He wasn't just a one-time champion, he was a 2-time champion. He defended the belt 5 times. He had the most knockdowns in a UFC title fight, which was 4 times against Kelvin Gastelum. The second most title fight wins in middleweight history at 8, only behind the great legendary Anderson Silva. The second most knockdowns in UFC title fights. Performance of the night, 6 times versus Rob Wilkinson, Brad Tavares, Derek Brunson, Robert Whittaker, Paulo Costa, and Alex Pereira. UFC Honors 2023 Knockout of the Year when he wiped the floor and knocked out Alex Pereira. The only man to do that in the UFC. Let's remember that, and granted, that was at 185. Alex Pereira had absolutely no business fighting at 185 pounds. But when he did, and he was the champion, and he knocked out a lot of people, Israel Adesanya rebounded and put him to sleep. So you got to remember, Israel Adesanya, the man's had a legendary career, and he's coming to prove the world that he is still that dude. But the question remains, is he? What do you think? Let me know in the comment section down there below. I'm very excited for this matchup. It's been a long time coming. Can't wait for it. I'll be doing a live while the fights were on. YouTube content will be back popping every single day. I've just been away with the kids, with my family in Maui, had an amazing time, had a little bit of a break, but but I'm back with a bang. So subscribe, ring the bell, and I will see you soon.